like to live, but I could care less if I live or die. You know, if I wake up tomorrow or not, it doesn't really matter. I'm comfortable with that.
Let me take you inside the Indian Larry tribute bike build just after Larry's death in 2004. This is long overdue. It's really hard to do. But let's dive right in.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. It was a pleasure. This particular build is something that's pretty special to all of us, and hopefully we'll be able to honor Larry and do right by what he would dig and have some fun while we're at it.
I've been to Larry's shop before, but it was very weird and surreal to walk in there because I had never been in the shop when Larry wasn't there. So to walk in the first place and have him not in the building was just the strangest feeling in the world, because it was just 3 months after his death. Larry was really finding himself in his career and in his bike building, and all of a sudden he was gone. And I don't think they had really set in yet like how that was going to change how I looked at the motorcycle industry.
The first step is to modify a Paco frame. While each of these builders will bring their own aesthetics to the project, the overall design will reflect Indian Larry's strict guidelines.
Larry, you'd like to keep 30 degrees rake, 30.5, you would call it. Just kind of making a point of it. He was real specific about the rake, so he'd always say 30.5. He liked a couple of inches in the down tubes, because then you can kind of get that flat line across the backbone of the frame. And a lot of times he would drop the seat area about an inch on the seat post and just keep the backbone right over top of the rocker box. Gives a nice line, keeps everything real tight and maneuverable, especially around New York City riding and that kind of thing. He loved to ride. We all love to ride, and that's a priority.
I really love the scenes in this show of twisting the down tube for the frame and twisting the front legs for the springer.
Larry was known for the distinctive twisted down tubes on many of his bikes. So our gang of 4 heats a 2-inch square bar of solid iron to a cherry red, and then applies the muscle to give this bike the Indian Larry twist.
So warm? I'd say a lot of the stuff that Larry done, never really understood how he did it. Screw it in there. Yep. Pretty much just kind of threads in.
The bonds holding this frame together are a lot stronger than mere welds.
I like all the nuts and bolts and the fittings and the linkages, and the mechanicalness of it. I like to see all that mechanicalness.
We're going to work on some twisted front legs. That's cool. Looks badass, man.
Kendall and Keino assembled the 88 cubic inch Pandemonium motor donated by S&S in memory of Larry.
The engines that he would typically build aren't, super heavy hitting 100+ inch engines like are out there these days. We keep everything tight and small, moderate engine, but still with such a tight chassis. You've got that power to weight ratio, and it's a real fun runner. Put this motor back in so we can see the clearance issue in the frame. Right? Take one.
And one of the great things about it was, usually in my shop, I have a vision in my head of what I'm gonna do. And this was a completely different approach to that. It was doing what Paul, Keino, and Larry would have done, but also with a twist, using what's in my head and what's in Kendall's head. So it was really, really a unique experience, one I'm very grateful for.
The 4 fabricators have been at it around the clock. At the end of day 2, the chopper's bare bones are in place, and it's easy to see that the finished motorcycle will be in the Indian Larry groove.
Pretty happy so far. Me too.
I always loved Larry's bikes, and I always thought to myself, and I even said it to Larry more than once, I wonder what one of your bikes would look like with one of my gas tanks on it.
When we get into the tank, I think sort of the common goal is to keep the purpose in mind, but bring ourselves to it. That's kind of why we're all here. So if you had something that you thought that he would have gotten a kick out of, whether it was exactly what he would have done or not, and we can see how it all fleshes out.
You and Medina, I'm gonna walk around over like to his work area and just look at some stuff he has over there.
And I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do, so I walked over into Larry's work area and kind of looked at everything he had on the walls and things he had on his toolbox. I tried to get a very good feel of how to include Larry and Larry's soul into the gas tank that I was making, because I knew that that wasn't his thing, but at the same time, I needed to make it his thing in some way.
I'm trying to just go through some of the stuff Larry has up here in his little personal work area. I'm just trying to get a feel for something that maybe I can incorporate into doing what we're going to do.
And I'd always used old hood emblems on my motorcycle gas tanks and old car parts in my bikes. And I had this Pontiac emblem that I kept thinking about. And I always thought, even before Larry's death, that the Pontiac emblems reminded me of Larry.
Back in the shop, Billy has an inspiration. He knows what he needs for Larry's tank.
I have a hood emblem at home, about this long, and it's got wings. Then the wings go in the front, go to an Indian. I'll make that the centerpiece and build a tank around it.
So when this opportunity arose, I called Jennifer at my shop. I'm like, overnight me one of these hood emblems out of this bin I had in the back of the shop. And Jen overnighted that hood emblem.
I'm gonna call Jen and get her to send that to me.
Billy's Pontiac hood ornament is here, so he can start on the gas tank.
It's got Larry's nose.
Yeah, it's got Larry's nose. Yeah, it looks like somebody we know. The tank will curve forward and then angle down. This is what you have anywhere you go.
Eddie McGarry, who did a lot of welding on Larry's projects, sees Billy's Pontiac emblem and brings in one of his own, an ornament that Larry had coveted.
Me and Larry were at the flea market in our neighborhood, and I picked this up, and I was checking it out. I think I put it down and scratched my head for a minute, and then I went back and grabbed it, and he said, man, good thing you got that, because if you didn't, I was going to get it.
This is probably work easier than the one I got, because the one I got, see, hey, perfect. You just saved homeboy a lot of work.
Glad I could drop in, you know, do whatever I can.
Hell yeah, that'll be perfect for that thing.
Yeah, I know he does that.
But then Eddie McGarry showed up with a different version of that Pontiac emblem that was way better for me to use. The wings on the one that I had was going to make it very difficult to make this tank, and the wings on that Pontiac emblem were going to dictate the shape of the tank, and I didn't like it. And then Eddie McGarry pulls up with this much smaller version of that Pontiac emblem, which really worked out and allowed me to do something very cool with that tank. It was something that I normally wouldn't have done, and that was, I think, the whole idea for me was, let me do something that Larry wouldn't do, let me do something that I wouldn't do, but that embodies Larry and is going to look good on this motorcycle with the dimensions of it. Because even though I didn't know what the other guys were building as far as details on the bike, I know the dimensions of an Indian Larry motorcycle. I'd studied them forever.
Oh yeah, man, that's Larry. Yeah.
This morning, some critical packages arrive at the shop.
Baker sent us another foreign transmission. It's got the 6-gear overdrive. Just means you can go faster. So, we all, love jockey shifts. That kind of hand in the engine kind of feel, more connected to the motor. Larry always ran them, more parts left off the bike. Once you set up and go jockey shift, you never go back. Like just like that. Oh, that's perfect.
Glad for his prison experience because he honed all of his best mechanical skills there.
With Eddie's new emblem as the centerpiece, Billy really gets cranking on the tank.
See, this is a real concave, and I'll make a convex piece out here. I used to take a week to do a tank.
Chops down some mini ape hangers.
So whatever the width of the pegs are is what we keep the width of the bars. And you'll have something hanging out catching mirrors and all that kind of thing. We're discussing making a taillight. shoot it out quick and see how it works. Right on, man.
You know, you got to realize when you watch this show that while I'm working on the gas tank, I don't know what Paul's doing with the sissy bar. I don't know what Kendall's doing with the tail light. I don't know what Keino's doing with the exhaust pipe. So when the bike starts to get assembled at the end and everything comes back from finishing, all these parts are coming together that I hadn't seen because I was off doing my own thing. And I think likewise, like Keino was doing the pipes and didn't really know what I was doing with the gas tank.
It's day 5 in Brooklyn. Time to pre-assemble Larry's memorial bike and prepare it for paint.
Good job, Paul. In the early days in the magazines, they wouldn't publish his bikes because they had no front brake. They were like too hardcore to run in the bike magazines.
The rear fender began life as an aftermarket part, but of course it's got to be chopped and edged. Kendall and Keino forge a set of question cross controls.
But if this gonna be a question mark that Larry's logo?
Larry was fascinated by life's great mysteries, which is why he adopted the question mark as his logo.
And that's my life's logo because I don't know what's going on. Go with the mystery. Life's uncertain. Just be comfortable with that. Why fight it?
The foot pegs for this tribute bike were generously donated by the Long Island Railroad. As Keino tigs up the pipes, he has a sobering realization about this project.
It's too bad we have to sell it, right? We're not gonna get to keep it.
No, nice work on the tank.
Robert Pradke, Larry's painter, comes to pick up the pieces. For he and the builders, the tribute bike is starting to come to life.
All the things I had planned originally, as soon as I seen the shape of the tank, went out the window. So just because it's that different, it won't let you away.
Your sketches for the Fat Bobs are shot. I think I have more confidence in you than you have in you. This thing's gonna be bad.
With the vision coming into focus, the full weight of what the team has accomplished hits home.
Sit over, Paul.
Wow, the view is awesome. You know, just all of this. He would have loved this, man. It's great.
There's a lot of great quotes in here from Larry.
You don't want to get too deep inside. It's very dangerous in that. You get hurt. You go inside my head, you get hurt.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is Larry only did 3 biker build-offs, one with Paul Yaffe, one with me, and one with Mondo. And he wasn't on TV that much. He was really only on TV, if you take all those shows combined, including what he did on Motorcycle Mania, he was only on TV for like an hour. But that hour of TV time that he got in the early 2000s made him wildly famous and gave him fans all over the world. To this day, I talk to so many people when I meet him for the first time, they talk to me about Indy and Larry. And I'm glad, like, I don't want to talk about me. I'm so happy to talk about Larry and Larry's bikes. I'm still a fan. I tried to buy Grease Monkey when it was at Mecum auction in Las Vegas a few years ago. I tried to buy Grease Monkey, and the second time, I don't have enough money to buy one of these bikes. But I tried to buy that thing. So I'm still a fan. So I get it. I get it.
Doesn't make any sense, but I wish he was here looking at
I
it.
wish he was here too. He'd be real excited.
We take a break from filming, we all jump on our bikes. I was on my 1949 Panhead, a Big Mac. We'd ride around down Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and just have a blast. And we'd take a break from working for a few minutes, go get something to eat, and we'd all jump on our bikes and go for a ride. I mean, those little cuts in the show, magic moments, something I'll never forget.
The bike has been broken down and sent out for paint and plating, so Larry's tribe takes a ride to reflect on the significance of their creation.
My bike's gonna be sick.
I think it's a Larry bike with a twist.
Since I met Larry, I always thought it'd be great to get in the shop and really do something with him, and I feel like I am. You still feel that vibe?
I bet you he's just up there on the edge of his seat thinking, man, what are they going to do next? There's Larry.
Yeah.
Hope he likes what we're doing.
At his studio in Connecticut, Robert Pratke throws everything he has into this paint job. Subtle panel work enhances the radical wings of Billy's tank. After taping off some flames, Robert fills them in with silver leaf. He uses a variegated gold leaf for the question cross on the front. The tank and fender get some freehand surprises.
I laid out some artwork in memory, Indian Larry, and then his grease monkey. It'll be there, but won't be over prominent, and I want to portray some of the solemnness of his passing, and you know, this is a tribute bike to him.
So when I was making the gas tank, I was thinking about Von Dutch and Big Daddy Ed Roth and how those custom cars and motorcycles were done in the 60s. If you look at this gas tank, especially when Robert Pratke was done bodyworking it, starting to lay the paint out on it, you can kind of see those wings are kind of that 1960s Ed Roth custom car style. I mean, that's where all that came from. I was really trying to channel the influences that influenced Larry and myself and put that into this gas tank. So that tank has a lot of elements to it that I wouldn't normally do, but I really like how it came out. I mean, when Robert Pratke walked in with that gas tank, I was really blown away, because as somebody who creates, I create something that I hand it off to a painter, and I know Robert Pratke's a very talented painter, but I don't know what it's gonna look like when it's done. Robert knows in his head what it's gonna look like when it's done. So Robert walks in with a tank, and it's just amazing to look at that and see that in just a couple days, I'd started it just a couple days before, and then it took me about 2 days to build it and pressure test it, and then I give it to Robert, and he paints it in a couple of days and comes back with that fender and the gas tank. And when you look at it, it's amazing, and then when you put it on the motorcycle, it just becomes something else, so much bigger than what it is.
The fabricating foursome are waiting for Johnny Mack, the shop assistant, to bring the tank and fender back from Robert Pratke's paint shop up in Connecticut.
And there's John.
What the heck, what happened?
Oh my God. Oh, look at the grease monkey.
It's almost like a ghost, you know what I mean? When you do it.
You look at the bottom of the gas tank, turn it over.
Wow. In loving memory from my friend Larry. Larry loved that.
The guys are awestruck by Robert's paint.
This is great. I got so bad.
Next, they'll throw themselves into the final assembly.
The coolest part of building a bike to me is always when all the fabrication is done, all the finishing is done, you start to really assemble it, and you see all these things that you've thought in your head for months and weeks, and in this case, just in days, see everything come together. Especially when I didn't do a lot of it and hadn't seen a lot of it prior to it coming in, is the best part of building a custom bike.
It's the morning of day 8, and it's time to begin the final assembly of Indian Larry's tribute chopper. Larry likes sissy bars for tying on a bedroll and hitting the road. So Paul starts heating and hammering some stainless steel rod.
I mean, Larry did a lot of ornamental ironwork professionally for a lot of years. You know, sculptures and doing a lot of things in some famous buildings around the city. So any kind of like forging and all that kind of stuff, I pretty much got from him.
Paul has forged a sacred sissy bar to honor 2 of Larry's great loves, Bambi and the open road.
I just wanted to do something kind of personal for Bambi. You know, we're all family.
I like the extremes, you know. It's let you know you're alive. When it's all nice and mellow and everything, like, look, you know, it's not for me.
One of the things I really liked about how Discovery did this show was that they gave a brief history of Larry that I think a lot of people didn't know about him. The story of Larry stealing his sister's tricycle and putting an engine and ape hangers on it is just such a charming little story, I think. And
motor on it and these big handlebars. I was really upset that he took away my tricycle. And he says, "Don't worry, Tina. I'll get it back the way you want it, or else I'll get you another one." You always wanted to go fast. I said, "Larry," I says, "you could kill yourself on that." And he says, "Mom, I could walk across the street and I could be gone."
And Larry's mom and his sister Tina talking about him robbing a bank and getting shot in the head and having the bullet graze his head, and seeing that old newspaper article from 1972 with the bandage on Larry's head from where he got shot and was getting arrested. I mean,
Larry held up a local bank, but one of his accomplices was a police informant. As Larry exited the bank holding a shotgun and a bag of cash, the police were waiting for him. 2 officers fired, one of them grazing Larry's forehead.
I said, "What did my son do now?" This was 1972. He's still smiling even there.
After the robbery, Larry served 3 years in prison, mostly up the river at Sing Sing.
I got what I deserved. I mean, it's, you know, you can't do what I was doing. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, that's my advice. Don't do what I did.
those are things about Larry that I think a lot of people didn't know. So I really enjoyed the fact that they include that piece of history in the show. I really like the parts of the show where photographer Timothy White was talking about how Larry had kind of finally realized himself.
I got my dreams, you know. There's a couple other things I'd like to do, but I'm pretty much right in the pocket.
And become the person that we all knew, because he had a whole other life before everybody became familiarized with him.
It was finally making sense to him. All his turmoil, all his craziness, all his creative juice, everything was just all coming together into this one moment of recognition that he was coming to.
And I just feel like that I'm maybe slightly starting to fit in somewhere and slightly being accepted.
And then he's gone.
You know, back to Iron Horse magazine, when they talked about him with his Indian chopper, I mean, Iron Horse magazine was where I learned about Larry.
During the 1980s, Larry rode around Manhattan on a chopped Indian motorcycle, which is how he picked up the nickname Indian Larry. He was living life on the edge, immersed in the bike scene, the art scene, and the drug scene.
In the mid-1990s at Psycho Cycles, through Iron Horse magazine, that's where I learned about Larry and became familiar with him and his work and really became a fan.
Larry worked at various bike shops around Manhattan before becoming a partner in Psycho Cycles in 1996.
And to go from seeing him in a magazine and becoming a fan of him and his work when nobody knew who I was, to getting to do a biker build off with him and becoming friends with him and getting to actually work and ride with him. I mean, you know, as I watched that show, it made me realize, because when I first learned about Larry, I didn't know all these other things. So watching the show made me think about myself in the 90s and how him and his life had evolved and how all that stuff influenced in a lot of ways what I do, because Larry, definitely, his work was definitely a big influence on my work.
Whoa.
A pair of question cross risers are set by bronze sculptor Jeff Decker.
Wow, that's pretty intense. That's heavy duty.
It was very rewarding to see this motorcycle come together. When we lifted it off the stand and put it on the ground, I mean, I said, oh, I love this thing.
Let's go. Oh yeah.
I like that little bike, man.
He'd be loving this.
The 4 fabricators are finished. They're finally ready to take in their tribute to their fallen brother.
I just can't help knowing that he would be flipping out. Say that's a good day. That's one thing, man. Oh, it's good.
Hi guys, hi Paul.
Hey.
Bambi stops by the shop with some friends to see the bike for the first time. After Bambi sees the bike, the perfect name is suggested.
It all just came washing back over me, looking at Bambi, realizing Love Zombie. That was the bike that he always wanted to build for him and Bambi. He always wanted to build a Love Zombie, which was going to be purple and green. We just all kind of thought, wow, that's a bike he never got to build.
We're gonna start it up.
I think he's going to fire it real quick.
Photographer Timothy White was there and took some really cool photos of the bike when it was done. And this is one of them. And this is one I have that all of us signed. Keino, Paul Cox, Kendall, myself all signed. And I've had it for all these years. I'm gonna do something with this. I'm thinking I'll do some kind of an auction with this photo. I'll put it in a frame and do some kind of an auction with it and raise some money for some charitable cause. Because I've had it all these years, I've never put it in a frame, I've never hung it up, but it's been kind of floating around my shop. So maybe before it gets ruined, it's signed by all 4 of us. We'll get this off and get it into somebody's hands who really appreciates it.
The Love Zombie is rolled out of the shop to catch its first glimpse of daylight. Timothy White snaps a few photos before the maiden voyage.
We got the bike done. We got it out on the street. Everybody got a chance to jump on it and take it for a spin.
And each one of the builders will take a final ride with their friend.
You know, I think if God rode a bike, he'd be riding a Harley Davidson chopper. The right bike, you know, the right day, the right road. I just pretty much feel like one with the universe. When I feel like I don't fit in anywhere, or I'm lonely, or I'm like, you know, all screwed up in the head, it's like I get on my bike and I go for a ride, and it's like all of a sudden I'm like fixed. I feel you should be doing exactly what you want to do in life, how you want to do it, when you want to do it. Otherwise, you're wasting your life and you're wasting the talents that were given to you. Life is like a real precious short gift. Not that I didn't enjoy it and everything, but you know, I got things to do, places to go. I want to meet God and go like, what the hell were you thinking? You know, it's like, what were you thinking?